you're spending in the X-ray machine is just like a minute or something like that. If you've done an MRI, which I did get like a few years ago because I had some back pain, so they're like that takes a long time. So they insert you into the tube and then like it sits there and bangs away and like you're in there for like 15 or 20 minutes. And if you're claustrophobic, it's not a good place to be. I mean, I'm not claustrophobic, so I don't really mind. You can just kind of start to take a nap or something. But you're in there for like quite a while. And so for those MRIs, you almost wonder why, like if they sort of have a shortage of slots for sort of available slots given demand for MRIs, you would think they can almost run it 24 hours a day. Because it doesn't even need to be, it's not like there's a doctor who's even, I mean, the doctor will eventually look at the MRI and interpret it, but it's actually just a technician who's running it. So it seems like they could be running this thing like almost 24 hours a day or something. I mean, they shut down from like midnight to 5 a.m. or something like that. But they don't, I don't think they do. I think they just run it during normal business hours. So for some cases, I think maybe it would make sense to do that. But then, again, you're always faced, the problem with all these imaging things is that they usually do involve high fixed costs, and then the marginal cost of giving an additional MRI is close to zero, but the marginal revenue that you get is hundreds of dollars or actually maybe thousands of dollars. And so you always have these some moral hazard problems that once the practice buys the MRI, it's like you want to give as many MRIs as you possibly can, and if there's any sort of doubt, then definitely just run the machine and get reimbursed and take your money and go home. So, okay, so if you think about sort of the total deaths that are being prevented, so you have this reduction in mortality from 1980 to 2000. Their estimate is that 47% of that reduction is due to improved healthcare. But when breaking it down into these different categories of improved healthcare, more than half of that, or I guess about half of that, is due to the very cheap Category 1 treatments, and only about a quarter of it is due to these very expensive Category 3 treatments. So it's definitely true, as you guys pointed out, like the number of Category 3 treatments that's being done is much lower than the number of Category 1 treatments. So even though these are much more expensive, it's true you're like multiplying by a smaller total number of procedures. But when you're talking about things like aspirin and so forth, the difference between taking aspirin and getting an angioplasty must be on the order of about 10,000 or 100,000 times in terms of the magnitude of the cost. So the total spending is still going to accrue much more in this last category than in the first category. And then they have like 10% of the decrease they can't explain. So that's just kind of like a residual. So just to sum up, the U.S. is different than other countries. It seems like we have a lot more of the Category 3 spending and not necessarily more of the Category 1 spending, which in turn can imply a faster growth rate that is higher than GDP. And again, these, especially with like the Category 3 spending, this is not something that we get any productivity improvements. And so like surgeons today are not necessarily any more productive than they were 100 years ago, or I don't know how long ago they were doing surgery, but let's say pre-World War II. Now, I mean, the surgery itself, they do types of surgery that they didn't have back then, and it has benefits. And probably like the environment in which it's done is better because like we understand that it needs to be sterile more than they did like 100 years ago and stuff. So I'm not saying surgery today isn't much better than it was in say 1900. I'm just saying that the number of surgeries that a surgeon can do is not any higher than it was in 1900. So productivity is improving in other facets of the economy, but it's basically staying constant in this particular sector of the economy. Then so over time, you'd expect that this sector is going to chew up a larger and larger share of total output. So there is potential for cost-saving institutional reform, which might actually sort of swamp the importance of cost-saving technologies in the sense that if we could identify who these marginal patients are, they're getting these treatments that aren't too invasive, and so there's like sort of a lot of discretion as to whether or not you're going to provide these treatments, and then stop providing them to patients for whom there's really no clinical benefit, then you could potentially get some pretty substantial cost savings. The problem with that, of course, is that somebody besides the doctors have to decide like when should we not be doing this. So basically like look at the clinical studies that show that angioplasty is not effective for people who haven't even had a heart attack yet, and say like we're not going to reimburse angioplasty for this context in which it's been clinically proven to be ineffective using randomized controlled trials. The problem is that people don't necessarily believe randomized controlled trials, and that's the gold standard of evidence. They kind of think, well, I just want to get it. I don't want somebody telling me, particularly some like government bureaucrat telling me that I can't get it, or some like insurance bureaucrat telling me that I can't get it. And so technically, when you do that, you are rationing care, and that sort of has very bad connotations from the perspective of the public. So there is this, even though there are potentials for cost-saving reform, there's always going to be sort of a lot of pushback on sort of the healthcare consumer side, which basically we're all healthcare consumers. So eventually, rising taxes are probably going to be the ultimate brake on healthcare spending. So Medicare, the federal government has some budget problems, but basically most of them come down to rising Medicare costs if you look over the next 40 years or something like that. So people like having Medicare that covers everything, but they don't like paying really high taxes, and so somehow that balance is going to have to work itself out going forward. Okay, so the last set of topics that I want to talk about are the actual market failures in healthcare that generate a lot of these costs and that basically necessitate government intervention in a lot of different areas of the healthcare market. So there's an article on the syllabus that seemingly has nothing to do with health insurance or healthcare markets at all, although it does mention them a couple times. And this is an article by George Akerlof, who some of you might be aware is a Nobel laureate here at Berkeley in the econ department. And this is basically the article for which like his Nobel Prize was given. And technically a Nobel Prize is given for like a body of work, but it's sort of the body of work that was started with this article is what the prize was given for. And so he makes this point that asymmetric information, so basically situations in which there is a transaction between two parties, but one of the parties knows much more information about the good or service being transacted than the other does, asymmetric information can really mess up or destroy markets in a fundamental way. So just as a side point, this is sort of a very simple and very nice but very important paper, which is a rare combination. Like I would go so far as to guess that this is probably the only paper out there that you could say somebody like quote unquote won a Nobel Prize for that you guys as undergraduates could probably like sit down and read and actually like understand most of what's going on. It has some equations, but it really doesn't have very many, and really it's more about like the basic intuition of what the problem is and what the fundamental market failure is here. So I don't know. If you're going to read one article in a refereed economics journal ever, I would say this you could do much worse than this one. So in terms of defining the problem, so we normally think that if there's perfect competition and there are no externalities and some other conditions are met, that we're going to achieve a Pareto efficient allocation. And this is basically just the fundamental argument that economists make in favor of free trade. So if there's someone that values something of mine more than I do, then we're going to engage in a trade and we're both going to be better off. Because if I have whatever this car or something that I value at $1,000, but you value it at $4,000, then you should offer me something that's greater than $1,000 and less than $4,000. I'll be happy to take it, and you'll be happy to take the car because it's worth more than what you're offering to me. So in the class so far, we've really focused on externalities as a market failure that moves us away from a Pareto optimal or Pareto efficient allocation. But in healthcare, in particular in the insurance market, the fundamental market failure is essentially what we call incomplete and asymmetric information. So before we get into the healthcare market, though, or the health insurance market, I'm going to talk about the market that George Akerlof actually talks about in his article, which is the market for used cars. So in this article, what he does is he sort of examines this hypothetical used car market, and this is a market in which sellers have more information than buyers. So somebody who's a seller in the used car market has presumably owned that car for years and years, and they know all of its sort of like characteristics, in particular what perhaps is wrong under the hood or might not be obvious to buyers. So let's consider that, assume that I find myself in a situation where I want to sell my slightly used car. So this is kind of a situation where I found myself in a few years ago, and it might indicate one of several things. So what happened is that we got like rear-ended. So back in 2006 or so, I think we got like rear-ended in the car that we had at that point, which was already pretty old. It was like 8 or 9 years old. And we probably would have replaced it in a few years anyway, but because it got rear-ended, the damage wasn't that extensive. It's like once your car is say 8 or 9 years old, the value of totaling it out might only be like $3,000 or $4,000 because it's not actually worth all that much on the used market. And so even a relatively minor accident can potentially cost more than $4,000 to fix. And so in that case, the insurance company just offers to like write a check to you for the car itself rather than fix the thing and spend more than it's actually worth. So they totaled out the car, and then we had to go buy a new car. And we ended up like buying a Honda Accord, which is like a mid-sized sedan. But we lived in San Francisco, and so after a while, we kind of felt like maybe the car's a little bit too large. Like it's hard to park in San Francisco, particularly like a very tight parking space in our building and so forth. And plus gas prices like went up and so forth. And so like if I had to go back and do it again, I probably would have bought like a smaller car, maybe a hybrid or something like that. And you would think like in a well-functioning market, then what I should have been able to do, if I really want to do that, is just go sell my Accord on the used car market and purchase the hybrid or whatever, the smaller car like a Civic or Honda Fit or something like that. So the fact that I might go to the market and try to sell the Accord could indicate that I've changed my mind and I want to switch to a smaller car. But it could also indicate that I've learned it's a lemon. So another possibility is that we bought the Accord. It actually is the car that we wanted. It's still the car we wanted, but it turns out that the engine keeps on breaking down or whatever. And so what we prefer to do is just sell it, make that somebody else's problem, and go back and like buy a new different Accord or whatever, Ultima or something similar. And so the problem is that if I go to the market and try to sell it, I can't credibly signal that it's not a lemon. Now, of course, I'll claim that it's not a lemon, but you're not actually going to believe me when I say that because it's in my self-interest to claim that regardless of whether it's true or not. And so there's going to be some chance that, you're going to sort of observe, observe that I'm selling my car. You're going to kind of work out some sort of probabilities of like, well, I think that like 10% of cars are lemons. So if I were to randomly select a car off the road, I think there's maybe a 1 in 10 chance that it's a lemon. But conditional on the fact that this guy is trying to sell me the car, I think that the chance that it's a lemon is significantly higher, right? Because basically everybody who has a lemon would prefer to sell it and make it somebody else's problem. And so the fact that I'm selling it is itself a signal that it's sort of a higher than average probability that it's going to be a lemon. So because of that, the price drops because the buyer is going to believe that there is this higher than average probability that it's a lemon. And so I stick with the Accord because it's like, it's a scenario of, well, I paid $20,000 for it, and if you knew that, say it only had 10,000 miles on it, if you knew that like this were basically a car that didn't have any problems, just had 10,000 miles, then you might be willing to pay like $18,000 for it, but you think there's a good chance that it does have problems and that it is a lemon, so you're only willing to pay maybe like $15,000 or $16,000 for it, right? So if you were to offer me the $18,000, I would say, okay, you know what, at that point it's worth it, I want to switch cars anyway, so I'm going to sell the Accord. But since you think there's a high probability it's a lemon, you're only offering me this lower price, let's say like $15,000. And at $15,000, given that it's not a lemon, so if it is a lemon, then I might say, okay, you know what, I want to get rid of it anyway, so I'll sell it to you. But given that it's not a lemon, then I'm going to stick with the Accord, and that actually is going to make the problem even worse, right? Because now, essentially, if you're one of these people who has changed their mind, like I did, and would like to sell your car, but it's not a lemon, you don't want to actually sell it at $15,000, right? Because unless you really regret your choice, you actually have a good car, it's functioning fine, and yet people are offering you a price that basically indicates they think that there's something like substantial wrong with it, right? And so once that happens, then the people who have good cars and have just changed their mind, they don't really want to sell them, and that's going to increase the proportion of cars that are actually lemons on the for sale market, right? Because now it's not just that. So the problem before was that, let's say that you randomly select an Accord off the road, there's a 10% chance that it's a lemon, and maybe there's like 10% of Accord owners who also like to switch cars if they could, right? So basically, you would expect that 20% of the Accords would be for sale, and half of them would be lemons, and then half of them would be people who have a fine, like car itself is fine, but they just want to get a different model or something like that. So in that case, you kind of go in thinking that there's going to be a 50-50 mix. If you're a buyer, you're going to go in thinking there's like a 50-50 mix of lemons and non-lemons. But then when you go with that expectation, then you're willing to offer a lower price, and the people who would like to switch their model of vehicle but don't own a lemon are going to not want to sell at that lower price. And so it's actually going to be the case that maybe only like 25% of Accords that are for sale are non-lemons and just sold by people who want to switch cars, and 75% of the Accords that are for sale are lemons, because people who are lemons still want to get rid of them even at the lower price. But then, of course, you're going to lower your price even more as a buyer once you realize that the lemons are sort of really disproportionately represented among the for sale cars, because now you're like, well, I'm almost sure that I'm going to get a lemon. That in turn is going to force out some more of the like non-lemon cars from the for sale market because the buyers really don't want to accept that lower price. And so you can get to an equilibrium where basically the only people who are selling the cars are either those that have lemons or people who really, really badly want to switch cars and are willing to accept a very low price for an otherwise good car.
So if it's a much older, if it's a relatively older car with the lemon problem, does that mitigate it because people are more likely to want to spend their
Yeah, so I think so I think it does start to dissipate as the car gets older and older, and I'm not sure. So I think some of that is just that like once the car gets really old, you don't have much of an expectation for it anyway. I mean, like that it's not going to last that many more miles. It's going to have high maintenance costs and expectation regardless of whether like it had high maintenance costs in the past or not. And then there's probably even some sort of like well, it managed to survive out to like 120,000 miles, so it couldn't have been that bad, right? Because if it were really like a lemon that were getting repaired every 10,000 miles, they probably would have scrapped it by this point. So I think sort of that like combination of factors makes people sort of less concerned out at that margin. It's also the case though that you have like a much larger pool of legitimate sellers at that point, right? Like lots of people are going to want to sell a car with 120,000 miles on it because they want to buy a new car, right? Whereas when you see a car with only 10,000 miles on it, like that raises your suspicions. Like clearly the car in theory should have a very long like expected lifespan in front of it, and so you have to wonder why is it that this person is selling it, right? And so one possibility is that they just made a mistake when they bought it and they want to they want to buy something else, and that might account for some cases. But your sort of concern is that maybe it's also the case that this car just been a problem since day one when they bought it. They've only had it for a year and they just want to get rid of it and make it somebody else's problem, right? And so I think that's so in particular, when you say or the like rule of thumb is like the car loses like something like 15% of its value when it's driven off the lot, so literally like just the first mile. And so people sometimes say, oh, well, it's like people really value the new car smell or something. It really doesn't have very much to do with the new car smell. It has to do with the fact that once it leaves the lot, somebody, you don't know why that person is selling it, given that it has so few miles, and you have a strong suspicion that there's probably something wrong with it that you can't see just looking, walking around it or even doing a test drive, something like that. Okay, so right. So Carfax can help, but there's potentially still information that's not going to end up in there.